Thank you, Professor Burlingame, for doing this interview. Maybe not a lot of people know you. I think they must know you. So I will do an introduction of you, and then I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, that's Professor. You're a professor at Burlingame University. That's near Salt Lake City, I think.
Yes, 1 hour south of Salt Lake City.
Okay. You're a professor at the Department of Clinical Psychology. You're the president of the association, the group, the American Group Psychiatric Association, the HPA.
Yeah.
Your interest in your scientific work lays in the outcome measurement, but also in research of small group and everything surrounding these small groups. And you publish a lot of in that area, in the outcome area, and in small groups. And you also publish with Professor Lambert. And we know in Holland we call it the Lambert pie. Maybe I ask you about it. And you recently published in a very famous Bergen and Garfield Handbook of Psychotherapy and Behavior Change. And then you did a chapter with Dr. Bernard Strauss about effective in small groups. And I saw on your website a lot of recommendations. So did I miss something, or did I? Do you want to introduce yourself a little more?
No, I think you've done a fine job. Those are the two loves. Both of the measurement and the group stuff is actually something I got excited about when I was an undergraduate student. And they attracted me into the field of psychology years ago.
So my first question is about the American Mental Health Services. Can you give us an insight of how it's organized in the United States?
Yeah, it's complicated. They're publicly funded centers that treat mental illness and substance abuse. And many of those are funded initially from the federal government. SAMHSA is the initials for the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Agency. It's a lot of money. It's hundreds of billions of dollars that go into state grants. And typically those people have a lower socioeconomic status and often fit the seriously mentally ill description. There's a large insurance company effort, probably talking 150, 170 million Americans that are insured. And those individuals receive mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment based on insurance company policies. And then there's also a significant governmental, so like the VA system, the Veterans Association, that serves a large number of people who have served in the military. And finally, there's private pay. So individuals who are resourced well enough that they can cover their own treatments. And of course, we have free treatments as well. So it's rather complicated, and the kinds of treatments that you get sort of vary by the setting.
And you did a lot of research on the effectiveness of psychotherapy, do they listen to this evidence, or is that also complicated?
I think it depends on the system of care. AGPA, American Group Psychotherapy Association, some time back, we met with the head of the VA system because their resources are not large, and they were quite interested in investing more of their resources into group psychotherapy. So we were helping them understand how that works. There are insurance companies that I work with as a consultant who are interested in increasing their group treatments, partly because group treatments are equally efficacious when delivered well and cost efficient. We talk about the triple E, the efficiency, the effectiveness, and the equivalence. Mm-hmm. And so when we meet with insurance companies, we underscore that. It's harder in private practice. It's not impossible. But to run a group, you have to have a sufficient number of patients walking in the door to be able to compose a group without a long wait list. So the majority of group treatments that are paid for by insurance companies take place in agencies, not in solo private practice where you have multiple therapists working at the same time, which allows you a queue of clients that you can assign to a depression group or an anxiety group or something along that line. Governmental agencies. So I've worked with the seriously mentally ill, both in an outpatient and inpatient basis. They don't have many resources, and so at the state hospital that I work at, 80% of the treatment hours that a patient receives come through group. Simply because it's a more efficient way to provide treatment to that clinical population. So it sort of depends what group looks like by the clinical setting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. What is this? Wide view of this kind of treatment. We met in New York. At the HPA conference, and recently in Jena, I was online in a working conference. It was about EBGT, and so our viewers will tell, what's that? What's EBGT? It's evidence-based group psychotherapy. So let's zoom in on your work on small groups, and then you talked about groups. And you also told about your choice for the research on groups. But why did you choose this aspect of mental health and psychotherapy?
Yeah, well, I think there's a personal story that I delivered in my presidential address. Because I came from a science family. My father was an engineer that worked on the NASA moon shots. So I grew up in sort of a science family. And I know personally, I was drawn to group as an adolescent, because I grew up during the encounter group, the training group experience of the 60s and the 70s. And so I had a personal experience with the power of group. The evidence-based group treatment website that you mentioned really came from a collaboration. It's been almost 25 years that Bernard Strauss